Hello the internet! It is Saturday the 7th of May 2022 and welcome back to the channel. First things first, before we get too deep into this, my internet is up and down like a freaking yo-yo. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm hoping this stays good, but wow, what a time for it to sketch out. I mean, this is a YouTube stream, so if you're watching not on YouTube, come on down to YouTube Machine and this is where you'll see the stream. But like I said, the internet during that countdown was wobbling all over the shop. A little bit sketchy. I don't know. We'll just have to go along with it and hope things work. Got a great show today. Got a great conversation. Before we get into it though, I want to address the chat and say hello. Also, can we get some smacks on that like button? I see 5 watching and only 2 of you yahoos have hit the like button. That sucks balls. At least give it a little nudge to, let's try to get for 4 at least out of 5. That's 1 person disliking it and 4 people liking it. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, the chat. So I began the chat with hello the internet, then Jason. G'day Jason, how you doing? Hello. And Hendrik, you're awake already, H-man? I thought you and Charlotte would have been hungover and still sleeping. Hello. I said smack the like button. Rich Santic, how you doing, Rich? Good to see you, man. Jason, autocorrect really effed me. You can swear, dude. You can swear if you wanted to. If you wanted to say fuck, you can say fuck. You can do it. Really effed me over on saying hello there. Hello. Ace, hello. Jason, Rich, hello. I guess correctly tonight. Already smacked it. Thank you there, Rich. Much appreciation. I do see 6 watching and 4 likey-roos. Are we good with the bitrate? Are we going to be okay? I mean, it looks good now. It looks pretty solid. I'm always worried about this because this is a YouTube stream and they stay forever. And so if it's sketchy, it's going to be sketchy forever. If it's just a D-Live stream, it doesn't really faze me because they get erased after a certain amount of time. But yeah, so I'm going to keep an eye on it, but it looks okay. Let's move along then. So the story here, or the topic of content here, you know, I went and shot a festival last weekend or the weekend before. I think it was 2 weeks ago now. Uncaged Festival. Now this is the first time I've shot a gig for most of 2 years, I suppose. COVID has wiped all that sort of off the map for me and I hadn't been out shooting. Shooting this festival, Wolfmother was the headline act. I'm there in the pit, ready to start shooting, talking to a friend of mine, another photographer, Johnny. G'day, Johnny, if you're watching on Facebook. And I'm just looking up there at the stage and I'm thinking, dude, they're about to go on, but there's no amps on stage. There's nothing up there. And the guy had already come out and done a line check. So from my knowledge of stage setting up, the line check is the last thing before it's showtime. And there were no amps on stage. And I'm thinking, where are the amplifiers? This band is a guitar band, and in the vein of Black Sabbath and Zeppelin, these are the sounds that this band makes is going to require amps. I'm thinking, is this some new tech that I've somehow missed in the last 2 years where you don't need an amp? I did notice on 2 sides of the stage and at the back, there was what looked like an iPad on a tripod sitting there. And I was thinking, is that what's going on here? This kind of an app that's somehow synced up. Now, I did have a all areas pass. So I went backstage to verify, thinking, okay, maybe the amps are behind the curtain at the back of the stage, literally at the back of the stage. And I was thinking they must be there. I don't know why they'd want to hide them. Like Wolfmother, you know, part of the shtick, I suppose, is the visuals. No amps. I checked under the stage, no amps under the stage, no amps on the side of the stage, no amps down by the loading areas, nothing, just no amps. So obviously we were hearing guitars. There was obviously a guitar sound and a bass, but I don't know where it came from. I want to show you the photos just so that you guys can have a look yourselves. But if we go here to, this is my website Across the Ocean. By the way, I'll pop this in the Chisel chat so that you can also have a look at your own leisure time. Yeah, that's in the chat there. But I just wanted to show you, I guess, a couple of examples of this stage setup with no amps. So you can't, I mean, and by the way, this is zoomed in, so the resolution's all out of whack. But so behind the bass player, you would be assuming there'd be an amp there, but there isn't. This is a wide shot of bass, and you also see Andrew Stockdale. There's no amps visible on that side. And then there's another, oh, that's my friend Johnny getting a shot of his mate. So this is a clear shot, right, where you would expect to see amps. I don't know how well you can see that, but that's where you'd be expecting to see amplifiers. None. Again there, but you can take a look at all those at your own leisure. Oh, that's the better shot, the fisheye shot. So you'd expect a bass rig here and an amp set here, but nothing. So I was thinking, well, who better to ask about this? Realistically, who's the better person to ask about this? Someone who's involved in music, right? Someone who's at gigs all the time. Perhaps this is new tech that I've missed in the last 2 years due to COVID. You've met him before. I'm going to bring in Lachlan Sheehan right here. How you doing, Lucky?
I'm good, thanks, mate. How you going?
Very well, man. Very well. Good to see you, you lovely man. Look at that shirt. Hell yeah. Tell the viewers, before we go too deep, tell the viewers who you are and how we know each other.
So I know Benin because back in 2012, we went touring around the world with a band called Tracer. Between 2012 and 2016.
Hell yeah. Like good times.
European tours with those guys. Benin in the van, sometimes clothed, sometimes not. You know?
How far into the stream are we? We've got to keep this YouTube censored.
YouTube sensitive? Yeah, okay.
So you know about this, right? You know about this no amp thing.
Yes.
How long has this been a thing? Is it just from COVID, or is this goes back further?
It goes back further. I don't have a concept of time anymore.
Okay.
Probably maybe 5 or 6 years that it's become sort of popular.
Okay.
I would say it's probably exploding at the moment. Point in case, I mean, it's slightly different to what you're saying with Wolfmother, where there's nothing on the stage, but I did monitors for Rose Tattoo last night, and even one of them had a digital guitar rig. So
when you say a digital guitar rig, there is literally no speaker, there's no amp. It's a direct interface straight from the stage back to front of house.
Correct. So in the past, when you had an amplifier, you had, this is going to get a bit techie, you had two settings. Preamplifier, which made all your tones. You had your volume controls and stuff on that, and your tone controls. And you had a power amplifier. So you had something that made that tone that you just created louder through a loud cab. We're at the point now where people have sort of done away with the second half, the power amp. Don't need it anymore.
So the first part of the amp is on stage.
Yeah,
that's the tone. That's the guitarist getting his tone and then sending that to the power amp.
Yeah. And then normally you'd have a cabinet. So everyone's used to seeing a giant Marshall 412 cabinet. There's 4 12-inch speakers in there.
Yeah.
There was a power amp on those. Generally, that was about 100 watts. That was extremely loud. You know, they would be louder than the PA system most of the time if someone wanted to turn them up. People would just sit there with them on 1 or 2. And as a sound engineer, that could be a real problem because you're constantly telling... Because what will happen is guitarists will go, well, part of my tone is having this guitar amp really, really loud, and it sounds better that way.
Yeah.
When I'm cranking it so loud that the fillings are being rattled out of my teeth. That's where it sounds best. As a sound engineer, you kind of go, okay, can you point that cabinet away from me? I mean, you'll remember that for the last few years of touring with Tracer, the Mike's cabs which were extremely loud.
Yeah. When you got that Black Star thing going for a little while, they were loud and clean, really clear too.
Very nice amps, and they're still about 100 watts. His Marshall amp that he had was like 180 watts.
Jesus.
And we had them pointing at the back of the stage because that's so loud that it'll overpower the room. And you'd think, oh, maybe that's because you're playing small rooms, some 500, 1,200 head rooms or whatever. But even if you're in a stadium, the front row or whoever that amp is pointing at is going to get crushed.
Yeah. Right? They're either going to love it or they're going to hate it too, depending on who they are.
Some people actually want to be. I know the Zep Boys were known to have people who wanted to be in the front row and just get mauled by amplifiers.
Yeah.
In the case, we're at the point now where there's a Kemper rig. So Kemper there's 2 main brands of these sort of digital guitar amps, I'm going to call them. There's Kemper and there's Fractal. So Fractal Axe Effects, Kemper Profiler.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few other ones. Boss make one. Lots of people make them. there was a Kemper that had a power amp in it, so you would still put this digital sort of guitar rig on top of a Marshall cab, and you could still just run that through the cab. But your preamp was all digital, and you still had a loud cab on stage. But we're at the point now when most bands are using in-ear monitoring.
Yeah.
But for them, well, they've got something in their ears anyway. They don't. Doesn't mean anything to them to have a loud cab behind them because
they're not hearing it. Yeah.
Sound in there anyway, and so.
So in the case of Wolfmother, what I saw, they've gotten rid of the cab on stage, and they've got rid of the one back, the second part of it. So it's basically just a cable that goes directly from the guitar to front of house.
Basically, so sometimes there's a pedal. The guy from Rose Tattoo last night, he actually still had a cab and a Marshall head.
Uh-huh.
Going to front of house was coming out of his pedal. He still had a loud Marshall cab on stage because you can choose to if you want to. But what was going
so that's separate to the pedal. That's out of the chain then?
Yeah, that's purely for stage sound and for the people in the front row who still want to get mauled by a Marshall amplifier.
All right, so I'm still trying to get my head around this. So if you have as an engineer, you're sitting at front of house and you've got your normal setup with the desk and you've got your digital interfaces. Is there now like a plugin that you see, which is essentially the guitar stack, the amp, the head, the cab, and the same for the bass, and you load in a preset that the guitarist has given you? Is that what it is?
Now I can do that, but generally that's not how we run it. So what's going on is they might have either... I tried to click your link of the Wolfmother shots before and it wouldn't let me do it, but they might have a pedal on the floor, and sometimes the pedal could only be that big and it might have a little screen on it, and that'll have two plugs on the back of it that go out to my desk at front of house, and all of their amp settings are in that little box. So that little rig there simulates what it would have sounded like to have a Marshall or a Black Star amplifier, and every other bit of their chain, that's all in this little box now.
Yeah, right. So when the guitarist chooses to hit that pedal or that box, are they making changes to it, or are they just sending you?
There's settings in it and everything. So you imagine it isn't a little pedal, but it's more like a rack unit. That's 19-inch rack unit, 3 units high, so about yay high. Screen on it. They'll still look like an amplifier. There's still knobs and dials on them. So you can go in and... The Kemper in particular is sort of the king of the hill at the moment. They're known as a profiler amp. So you can actually set them up next to your real amplifier. Run your tones through a real amp, and the Kemper will sit there and learn how that amp sounds and then digitally store it in it.
Oh shit, really? Just by like physically hearing it?
Yeah.
That's sick, man.
I've done it personally, but yeah, they run some tones through it or something and sample it. There must be a mic. They must give you a mic. Or
must be a mic somewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they get all the responses of what that speaker would be doing in that cabinet with that head and that preamp. So you've, in that one box that might be, yay big or even yay big, you've got something that's going, okay, this is what a preamp would have sounded like. This is what that power amp would have sounded like. Let's go, hey, this Marshall cab, this 412 cab or this 812 cab or whatever.
Yeah.
That would have sounded like. And some of them will even be like, okay, what mic would you have put in front of that cab?
So you can change that as well. Yeah.
And would you have had that mic on axis or off the amp?
That obviously leads to the question, touring becomes stupidly easy because you're not lugging around all these different settings, all these different cabs and amps and mics. If you can do it digitally, if you're faking it, basically.
Absolutely. Well, do you remember how many trips we had to a little town in the Netherlands called... Oh, I'm not going to remember the name of it now. But we used to go on tour to a guy who made amps for Joe Bonamassa and Eddie.
Yeah, I do remember. I remember that town Yeah, I
Oh,
can't think of the name of it
I
either.
can't remember his name now, but Van Wilden was the amp maker.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Mike had 3 power amps on tour with him,
Yeah.
and the 2 main ones he had were highly customized, and, you know, he spent forever crafting that tone and changing tubes and changing preamps and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they would break down on tour,
Yeah.
and so imagine you're traveling around Europe, and maybe you're in Germany, maybe you're in Poland, and you go, "My Marshall amps just died. What do I do?"
Yep.
Go to the local hire company and hire another one. Are you gonna cart that around on the next 3 legs, or are you gonna hire one in the next city? Are you gonna hire one in the next city?
Yeah.
We're in these tours, we're going, "Well, this is Mike's tone. We need to get this amp fixed," and we'd go into this little town in the Netherlands and drop off this amp, and
And spend a whole day waiting for it and watching and
we'd be waiting for it. I remember
yeah.
getting around that town for a while he was trying to fix this amp so we could get back out on the road and
Yeah.
well,
You say it like it's a bad thing, but they were good times and fun times. But I know why you're saying it. Yeah. And
well, imagine these old things, these amplifiers, Marshall amps, they've all got valves in them. You know, they got in them that are as fragile as a light bulb.
Right.
There's all sorts of little analog circuits, and you know they go wrong sometimes, or they get dropped sometimes, and
yeah.
sometimes their tone starts to change with age. You know, the tubes start to get older, and they don't sound the same as they did. And you send it off to someone, and he repairs it, and you're hoping that at the end of this, it's going to sound like it did before.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of why people have gone to digital amps. Is maybe you've actually got this amp in your house somewhere. Maybe you've got this boutique amp that this guy in the Netherlands has made for you, and that's your tone. Well, people go and capture that tone in something like a Kemper Profiler, and then
you're good to go.
You put that in a case about yay big, put some foam in it, throw it on an airplane. You're not worried about the baggage handler dropping it.
Yeah.
Really?
I was gonna say at that point, once you've got the digital amp and the profile and it's down completely how you want it, you could fake it by putting a fake cab up there and
or
having
a real cab. What's funny about it is it's so customizable. You don't actually need to do away with everything. You could still run a real cab up there if you wanted to, but just be there knowing that it's probably not going to break down halfway through the show. Or
I see. So it's almost like a
the first 5 minutes, and
yeah. It's like a failsafe.
Yes, it is, and it's at the end of the day, I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with them because I'm at the other end of the room, but presumably you can put the settings that you've made in your Kemper Profiler on a USB stick.
Yeah.
And maybe that Kemper does die that night. Maybe you blow a fuse or something. You could just get another one and put your USB stick in and...
Yeah. All right, then the next question I've got then, and by the way, to the chat, I did see something about nipples and strip clubs. Just to fill you in, Lockie, Charlotte Rose went from Victoria to Brisbane to see a Peter Bibby gig. I don't know if you're aware of Peter Bibby from Western Australia. Anyway, went up there with Hendrik and they partied on all night. So I will address the chat later, but while we're chatting, I did get distracted by nipples. I saw that word pop up and I was like,
we'll have to crack back in and nipples.
But I was going to say, so does this do away with sound checks then for the guitar and bass?
I was about to say no, it doesn't do away with sound checks. And you've just made me think about a gig I was at about a week ago where they just about didn't sound check.
Interesting, because if you're that confident that the tone is going to be exactly what you need, and as long as the guitar isn't physically broken or damaged, you've inspected it, theoretically, and if it's in tune, theoretically, it should be the same every time, right?
Yeah. We'll always do a line check. You want to know that you've plugged it in and that cable is working and that rig is on and you know the line going to your guitar is working.
That's what I mean. When I saw Wolfmother doing a line check, I was like, they must be really close to starting, but yet I don't see a single amp on stage. And I was like, this is interesting, but I don't know if I like it, because for certainly a band like Wolfmother, they're relying on aesthetics and, you know, they're styling themselves from the 60s and 70s. And part of that is the amps on stage.
I hate to say it as well. It's like, as much as that was the thing in the amps on stage, a lot of the time they were fake too, or maybe one of them was real. You know,
do you remember Black Label Society showed it, or showed me their
bottom row were real. Black Label.
No, only the first two in to the kit were real.
It was quite a lot though. It was more than you know. They had like 8 amps wide and 3 high or something.
Yeah,
but I think quite a few of them were on and live and very, very loud. But you don't need 16 of them.
yeah, they didn't need 16. But I mean, it looked good. Like it looked visually and to be
about. People keep saying they're all fake with AC/DC, and I've actually assembled that rig, and I can tell you at least 6 of them aside are real and on.
Okay.
I actually unplugged a bunch of them. There was at least 6 of them were plugged in.
Yeah. Okay.
They have. I think they're all live and real with AC/DC basically.
It's a strange argument though, because like people
are on and loud.
If people are complaining about it, they're like, "Oh, these amps aren't real. They're just there for visuals." It's like, well, what's wrong with that? You're going to see an audio visual display. It's like that'd be like saying can't have any no pyro. You know? Yeah, it's
almost like, you know, if someone has like a Statue of Liberty in the background at a Broadway musical, that's not the real Statue of Liberty.
No shit, it is. That's not the real Opera House. Yeah,
but
so
they don't have real amps back in that setting though. You know, let's say for instance, Metallica, they've had a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But they used to have, you know, their giant Mesa Boogie amps in road cases.
Oh shit, dude! My internet. Oh shit!
You're still there? You're just blurry.
Fuck. Sorry about that, folks. It's back now, but oh god, I hate this internet. Sorry about that, man. I lost what you just said though. That's all.
Back in the past, Metallica would have had live guitar amps, but they're in a road case full of sound deadening under the stage, and they've got, you know, 3 or 4 mics on them in the sweet spot. And so that's what they were doing, is carting them around and putting them somewhere where they're not noisy on the stage. But at the end of the day, what do you have a ginormous PA system for? You know, Metallica had 9 hangs of PA around an arena, 16 boxes in each, plus subs and all the rest, and 14 tons of subs above Lars Ulrich's head.
Yeah.
They're all real and they're all on.
Yeah.
Which do you want to hear? Do you want to hear Marshall amp that's pointed over there and not pointing at the person here? Or do you want to hear, you know, 130 speakers in the roof that have been tuned into the room, time aligned?
Yeah.
That's what you actually want to hear. So,
So the other thing that obviously this brought to my mind was that like touring and loading in, like such a simple task not to have to carry, especially the bass lineup, the bass rig, the bass cab, all that crap that we carted every day in and out. I mean, we were talking about, or in the chat there, Nuckleben, the load-in was through a coffee shop or a cafe, then down a ridiculous set of stairs. Does this mean you don't have to do that? Like it makes touring so much easier, hey?
Well, you're still carrying something down those stairs, but now it's what we'd call a pelican case.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Just a tiny little,
But it's getting really funny the way it goes, because in Australia, where we don't have big tour buses most of the time, people fly from gig to gig. Standard is, say, Rose Tattoo last night, local backline hire company, put all the amps and drums up on stage. Guitar tech comes in, sets them up. Band turn up with, you know, a couple of guitars, a couple of pedal boards, mic stand, in-ear rig, and that's all they sort of were touring with them.
That's it, yeah.
Everything else is fly higher. Well, now it's going the other way in Australia because, for instance, the gig last week was Mayday Parade, and there's a bunch of other similar bands as well on the lineup. There was not one live amp in the rig. And not only that, they're flying their own digital consoles. So 3 digital consoles came into the Gov that day. And in essence, this sort of amp simulation rig is all side of stage, the consoles and preamp racks for the consoles. The only thing on stage is the drum kit, you know, and 3 microphones for vocals.
Yep.
couple of pedals on stage, these sort of simulation rigs we talked about.
Mm.
But everything's got a stage that's there in this cluster of guitar amp or guitar simulation rigs and stuff. All of that came in a Pelican case.
Yeah. Wow.
There's, you know, a full van load of Pelican cases, and they're going to go to the airport and they're going to get checked in.
Yeah.
And
Done.
so paying
Too
all this
easy.
baggage. Well, it's easy, but at the same time, you turn up at the airport with like just carts and carts.
Yeah.
Stuff that's all got to be checked into Virgin Airlines or Qantas or whatever. You know, you might have like 100 extra kilos a passenger, like
Yeah.
to do this. But you wouldn't have done that with Marshall amps. You wouldn't want to. They'd be broken. But
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
handler's thrown it on there, so
with
a
that
little
in
bit
mind,
funny.
is there like a vibe amongst the industry where it's like a bit frowned upon? Like, oh, these guys are doing the digital amp. It's a bit of a shtick, and people are sort of. Are there people that'll be like, well, we're going to stick with real amps because we're real musos, or we got a real sound, or does that exist, or is it just all accepted?
A few years ago, I would have said that there definitely was that vibe. Nowadays, I'm not so sure because people are converting a lot. I don't want to. A lot of even really old school bands who you would have thought would have just used a Marshall or whatever are now going to digital rigs. The Angels have got digital rigs.
Yeah, right.
Now, people have the live cabs on stage and there's noise coming out of them.
Yeah.
What's going to the PA is coming from that pedal, and the amp on stage doesn't have to be so loud. Because, you know, I sort of said earlier, people want to drive their Marshalls and their stuff really loud to get their tone.
Yeah.
It's sort of that thing where they've got an amp on stage to still get that presence and that feeling, but it doesn't have to be cracked off its head.
Yeah.
So people do. You can almost have it both ways. And
it's interesting though, because then the guitarist is hearing. They're not hearing what the crowd is hearing. If they're hearing their amp behind them, but the pedal sending the signal to the DI, then
they've often got in-ears in.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So,
wow.
So more to the point, in some ways you're actually hearing what the crowd are hearing more this way, because before you might have heard a Marshall cab pointing at your ankles and you're not hearing it in the sweet spot and the microphone's jammed up against the cab.
Yep.
You're hearing it 4 feet back and it's pointing kind of at your waist.
Yeah.
Now you're actually hearing what's in your ears is exactly what's going to the desk.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, okay, that does make more sense. That's better. Yeah. Interesting. Are they expensive? Are these digital rigs expensive? Like price-wise to amps, are you getting a discount or is it?
They're actually pretty comparable. I think, off the top of my head, the real bee's knees of a Kemper is about $3.5, $4,000.
Yeah, okay.
Oh wow.
Cheap. Okay.
You get cheaper ones, but I mean, if you want the top end of it, you're still paying a lot of money.
Okay. So, what's the point of them then? If it's almost at parity of the price, what's the idea behind it?
Well, think of it this way: that's at parity price of one guitar amp. You could store 100 or 1,000 guitar amps in that one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And not only that, you could switch between them
on the fly.
That's
pretty rad.
As much as, you know, Mike may have been standing there with a pedal board, you know, from here to the wall to get different distortion tones or whatever, you could be swapping between different amplifiers and different speakers if you want to.
Yeah. So you could essentially do, like, if you were in you wouldn't do it at a show, but if your band had, I don't know, different sounds in kind of like Ween, I suppose, with multiple genres, you could easily just flip between different sounds from the amp for the country amp to a hard rock amp. Now
you're getting.
Yeah. Okay.
Where it's meaty is you got bands like Deftones and Alice in Chains now have actually gone back through and gone through the master recordings of their old records.
Oh, and got the tones
into a Kemper.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's really cool.
Going like, see a band like Alice in Chains going from, you know, their self-titled to Dirt to, you know, where they are now with these albums like Devil Took Dinosaurs Here and stuff like that.
Right.
They hit a button on a pedal board and you're changing the sound of eras.
Yeah.
Like
That's
that.
incredible, dude. Never thought of I've never so this is the first I've seen it a couple of weeks ago. Before then I didn't even know it was a thing. And also in Wolfmother's to discredit Wolfmother, Andrew Stockdale has a broken leg at the moment, or he's in a cast or a not a cast, but one of those modern casts that actually, whatever that thing is. So he wasn't moving at all. So he was just stood dead still in front of the mic. So there wasn't a lot to see. Like, and I'm not saying I wanted to see big star jumps and stuff, but
curly-haired bass player.
No, the bass player is the Frankie's Pizza's house band bass player.
Okay.
I don't know his name, but I saw him play. Frankie's house band also played at Uncaged, and they did a Black Sabbath tribute, a whole bunch of Sabbath songs.
The guy who was in Wolfmother has been off touring with the Whitlams.
Is that right? That's a big change. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I've seen Wolfmother, it's been a different lineup aside from frontman Andrew Stockdale. But what I was going to say is because he had a broken leg, he was dead still, and then it got kind of like it was a little boring because you couldn't focus on any. I mean, I don't know what I expected, but just looking at a stage with just a drum kit and the bass player is rad to watch. But
did they have visuals like video screen or anything like that?
No video screen, but they did have pretty extensive light work. But I guess that was the venue, not necessarily Wolfmother.
Bands, when they take the amps away, they often put something there.
So
a lot of hardcore bands often have scrims with their artwork.
Yeah.
Sometimes they've got their Kemper rigs behind that, which is maybe why you've never really seen them, is because they're always kind of hidden.
How big are they?
How heavy?
Like how big? Like physically?
Oh, how big physically? They're
Have you got one there? Have you?
It'll literally be about.
Just a right. Yep.
That'd be a 3 or 4 space rack.
Yeah. Okay.
Even they don't have to be big either. You know, there's different rigs that could be just a pedal. They could be the size of a distortion pedal.
Okay. When the first time
they're in there and
okay, yeah. When was the first time you saw one in your career?
I'm thinking it's probably about 5 years ago.
Oh, okay. So they've been around for a while. Okay, cool.
But I mean, it's time kind of flies now, and I don't really have any markers of when what was. There's I do sort of 6 gigs a week. It's all a blur.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, where I thought, "Gee, that was really cool. What a great idea!" Was oh god, the guy from Noiseworks. He was also in NXS. The lead.
He was for a while, wasn't he?
Ian
Moss? Ian Moss?
No, not Mossy. No. It's John Stevens. So I did a John Stevens gig where he was doing both Noiseworks things and NXS songs as well.
Okay.
So he's got a really session band behind him, and that guy there had his Kemper, and he still had a cab on stage. He had a little Fender cab just pointed up at him like a fallback speaker would be.
Uh-huh.
The Kemper was running this little Fender amp. But in essence, he's changing his amp tones between 2 different bands. So he hits a button and he sounds like he's in Noiseworks. He hits another button, he sounds like he's playing NXS.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I just fuck, it's right on 0. It doesn't look like it's coming back. Jesus. Yeah, that's gonna end my stream, isn't it? But then again, if I can still see you, the internet's still working, but far out. It's back up now, but I just hope...
How's the internet look to you guys?
Yeah. Well, maybe we should jump... I mean, okay, so you've educated me about this situation. I didn't know this was a thing, but it sounds like... I mean, it's not surprising that it went over my head for a while. Did we ever have... Did any band that we toured with ever have this in Tracer days?
No. Now that you mention it wasn't a thing back then.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel good that I didn't miss something that was staring me in the face the whole time.
5 years is when they sort of came to my attention.
Okay.
I think Trace was now 6 years ago. So.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, you are frozen.
Oh shit, dude! This is this is terrible. Okay, it's back up now. Okay, so while we're dealing with such sketchy internet machine, Let's and I'm sorry to the chat. I haven't actually been reading the chat comments, but if you've got any questions for Lockie, put them in the chat now, and we'll because this is super sketchy, and I feel like we're going to have to wrap it sort of soonish if this keeps going like it obviously is. So if you've got any questions for Lockie, hit him up now in the chat. I will just go back up and have a quick look.
Gibbs is counting the hours until he's on fiber.
Yeah, dude.
What's your connection? Are you just freebasing it with the wind? You're on 4G or something?
I'm on 4G, yeah. But I don't know if I've told you, but oh yeah, no, I did tell you in a DM. I'm off to New Zealand for the winter.
Yeah.
And I leave on Tuesday next week, and just coincidentally, I'm talking to my new housemates and this and that, and he's like, I just said, because I'm going to be doing some live streaming. I'm going to get my own 4G, and he's like, we got internet here. It's $20 each a month between the housemates. And I'm like, okay, what is it? And he's like, it's just fiber to the premises, uncapped, open speeds, synchronous gigabit speeds, and it's as much as you want. I'm like, how much is it? It's $20 each. And I'm like, you don't know how good that's going to be. I need it now. I need it here now, but I'll use it there as well. Of course, I'll kick in the $20 for that. Hell
I
yeah.
had a moment when I bought my house, and I was just saying at work, I'm working in this warehouse full of technicians, and I went, I've got this white box in the front of my house, and it says NBN Co on it.
That's the
Everyone
fiber.
sort of stopped what they were doing and kind of looked at me and looked kind of envious, and I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, you just won the lottery. You've got fiber to the premises.
Yeah. I remember you and I talking about that. I remember you telling me that you had that, but you didn't have it hooked up. And I was like, all it is a case of ringing up and getting them to hook it together. And you're like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't really need it. And I'm sitting, that was the beginning of my live streaming. And I was like, this literally sitting on a gold mine. Man, it's gone back down again. Dude, I'm going to have to wrap this here. This is...
That's all right, man.
Yeah, this sucks. We were gonna make it about an hour anyway. We're just shy of the hour, 40 minutes, but I feel like we got everything out anyway. Like the conversation we did cover everything that we wanted to. And no one's asked any questions to you, so I'm going to assume that they're talking about nipples and Peter Bibby and shit. I don't know. I missed all that.
We may have to get back to the nipple conversation and see what was going on there.
I think we should actually before. Yeah, let me just scroll back up. What did I miss? I mean, I don't want to miss nipples ever. I don't care about DI amps. I'd rather know about nipples. What did I miss? I'm thinking of staying another night because I got a massive headache. Did you guys drank too much last night, Charlotte, Hendrik? I know you did.
Or the right amount.
I guess just to another question I'm thinking as we go along. So if you digitizing the amps, is there a way to digitize the drums as well? I mean,
ooh.
Is that too far, or because could you do a show without a drum kit? Too much.
Well, Tism never had a drum kit, did they?
What would Tism do?
They did digitize a drum kit. They had a drum machine.
I guess that's been a thing forever, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and look, there's been electronic drum kits, and there's even electronic drum kits now that look pretty much like real drum kits.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Practice kits are often like that, aren't they? They're synthetic, and you can plug them, you can play them in your house, and no one hears you playing because it's in the cans.
Had hybrid kits live for a long time. Bill Collins, Linkin Park always had, about 4 electronic drums. All are pretty big on that.
Yeah, true.
There's a row of his tabla. I think they're tabla drums that he has that are electronic. Midnight Oil were big on it as well.
Who was that? Who was the last one?
Midnight Oil.
Oh, Midnight Oil, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, first always had about 3 electronic drums somewhere in the middle of his kit. But yeah, still
What's his name?
Rob Hurst.
Rob Hurst, yeah. He's also in The Break, yeah, with Brian Ritchie from the Femmes.
Yes.
And he also has on stage sometimes when I've shot the oils, he's got a big rainwater tank, yeah. Steel.
He does a drum solo on the rainwater tank.
Yeah, that's cool, hey. I saw him, he lugged that into the Gov one time. I thought that was pretty cool.
The Gov?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
okay.
That's pretty funny.
Midnight Oil?
No, as The Break.
The Break had the rainwater tank.
Now that I say that, I'm thinking I might have got that wrong. But I do have the photos of it, so I can go and check. But yeah.
No, they might have. I mean, it's like he also plays in a band. I actually did sound for him in a band called the Backsliders.
Okay.
Blues Act.
Okay.
He he turned up there very nonchalant, just really chill.
Yeah.
Didn't ask for anything crazy, just play the drum kit on the floor, whatever.
Yeah.
No big deal, Didn't have the mic stand roadie, nothing.
Nothing like that? No, okay. So, I mean, okay, so the internet seems to be pumping itself back up and it seems good now.
You threatened to leave it.
Yeah, it's like I tell you I'm leaving and it's like, no, I'm good. I'll be good. Tell me, let's change topics a little bit or keep it along the same lines, but what's been good lately, like in terms of, I know you've been doing the Noasis stuff. You were just in Sydney with that. What's good coming out of Adelaide right now? Anything we should know about?
With an Adelaide act called George Alice.
Alice. Okay.
I'm off on a national tour with her this month now. We're in May now, so May and I think maybe early June there's a date as well. So doing all the major capitals. Not doing Perth at the moment.
Not Perth? No, Perth gets left behind. Yeah.
We'll do Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's doing really well. She's had a gold record. Her first single went gold. She won Triple J on Earth High. And there's all sorts of good things happening there.
Okay.
And production manager the Gov now, so I'm just...
Do you really? That's a good gig, man. Wow.
So, being at the Gov, this is what happens, is you're in there and some band from Australia or somewhere around the world just comes in every day.
Yeah.
4 or 5 nights a week, there's great bands in there and every day it's different. So
you're a production manager there, so you're not necessarily doing sound anymore there so much.
Doing that as well.
Yeah, wow, man.
So yeah, like last night I did monitors for Rose Tattoo.
Yeah.
There's so many gigs come through that I can't remember who's been in, but Electric Fields are there tonight and I'm not there, but I've done all the production advance and stuff, so I can sometimes do all the things and make sure they've got everything they need, and I help them hire in equipment, so stuff like that, and then don't necessarily have to do sound, make someone else do it. And people have their own crews as well, and facilitate. We had Devil Skin in there the night before, I've just remembered.
Devil Skin, that's Kiwi band, yeah?
Kiwi band, yeah.
I shot him actually.
He had his amps pointing at the back of the wall like Mike does.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, the Gov is pretty small for that anyway, so I guess a lot of heavier or louder bands would do that.
Yeah, you sort of have to. Rose Tattoo don't do that. They just blast everyone with Marshalls.
Yeah. Hendrik said that sounds like a great gig, Lucky. Rich said the sound cutting out is almost sinusoidal. Dude, that's a band name and a half. Sinusoidal. Interesting. It certainly got interesting after we left Bibby. Interesting, Hendrik. I think I want to hear those stories, but maybe not on a stream. Peter Bibby is an interesting character, Lockie. I guess he's in on the what's the record label with Tame Impala and all those local crew? Is it Modular? I think it's Modular Records.
Could be.
Anyway, they're all in it together. They all like Pond, and whenever they tour, they're all mixing their members of each groups up. And Peter Bibby just comes out and he has a couple of different outfits. He calls himself Peter Bibby and his Bottles of Confidence. He also has one called Peter Bibby's Dog Act.
Right.
And, really, it's kind of like modern. I don't know, like it's like a modern day Paul Kelly, but like a bit bogan as well, like, and emphasizing on the. I mean, he's got a track called Wyalla, which is strange because I think he got stuck there once on a regional tour. Called a song Wyalla. I mean, what?
Google this Peter Bibby character because now some things are starting to ring some bells. Actually,
he did get a little Triple J love. I feel like. I mean, I don't know where I first heard him. Oh, probably through Across the Ocean. I got sent his albums and I had a good look. And this one was the Dog Act. Yeah, so he was touring as the Dog Act. Hendrik, did you hear Stinkin' Rich? Did that get a run in last night? I'm sure it did. Did you get a photo of the set list, Hendrik? I'd love to see that if you did. He's on a tour right now. I'm not too sure if he's already done Adelaide or not, but he'd probably play. I'm gonna say he'd probably hit the Enigma. I imagine for his size.
Okay.
Unless Enigma's no longer around.
I'm not sure. They had to do a fundraiser to try and stay around. So it's
Yeah. What is that, Hendrik? Wyala is the only track on the new album? What? That doesn't make sense. It's a one-track album, or you mean the only track you like or you don't like, or finish the sentence. He played Stinkin' Rich as an encore. Rad. Wow. Yeah, interesting. Are there any new venues in Adelaide, Lockie, that have popped up since I've been there?
There is one popping up. So, well, you might not have even seen New HQ.
No. When you say new, just
So the old site on the corner of North Terrace. They closed that down, and now it's full of squatters and getting lit on fire and all sorts of stuff like that.
Oh, what? People are squatting and living in that venue?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, they had a heritage listed part of it because they own the Newtown Hotel or whatever on the corner, Newmark.
Yeah, there was a venue in there called Gabrielle's. I remember that.
Yeah, well, they I think that had like a spiral staircase. I think that got lit on fire by squatters. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, not heaps. But in any case, they had to move out of there, I believe, because it's next to the new hospital.
And that's part of the hospital now. Is it across the street?
Well, it's just across the road from it. So I think they really didn't want to have this hectic nightclub across the road from it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right.
What it was, and so they on corner of Hindley Street, basically.
Corner of Hindley and what?
Morford.
I know what you mean. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
They made it about 3 stories tall. It looks like a ginormous white box.
And is it good?
It was good. You know, I did some gigs there. You know, did Happy Mondays there, and Genehead, and a lot of big bands played there. Stereophonics played there. I worked on that one. Nothing But Thieves. Mike. Okay. But that closed. I think they had a mountain of debt from having to leave a venue and build a new venue.
Yeah.
I just think they never got on top of it. But that's been closed for a couple of years now.
Okay.
And now it's reopening as Hindley Street Music Hall. So
Hindley Street Music Hall.
So Fortitude Valley Music Hall in Brisbane.
Right.
The owners of them and the bass player from Powderfinger and like
don't know his name, but I know the guy you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, he played bass in Powderfinger.
So he owns the the
people, but they're one of the partners. I feel like Live Nation might also be a partner in it.
Right.
So that'll be opening soon, which will be interesting. Because it needed a little bit of work before. I felt like it could do with some acoustic treatment, but of course I would say that as a sound engineer, I think everything should have acoustic treatment.
Yeah. Is Rocket Bar still a thing? Do they still have gigs up there?
I'm so old I wouldn't know anymore. I think they do.
Yeah.
I think Rocket Bar is still a thing. I don't know if they do gigs.
Right. I just remember back in the 2009, 2010, I shot Tame Impala like about 2 or 3 times in that bar, and I thought that was really interesting because of what they went on to do, stadiums all over the fucking world.
Multiple times in that bar.
Yeah, a few times, yeah.
Wow.
I just thought that was unique because that was they weren't getting any love at that point from anybody, but it was like, this band is rad, like really good. And nobody knew about it. And then it was like almost overnight they were like, oh no, yeah, Tame Impala, yeah, they're on a world tour now. So whoa. Cool. Yeah.
And now they're doing massive arenas in the US.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah.
Hendrik, John Collins owns it. We walked past it last night. Is that the Tivoli? Or what's that one we did, Lockie Tracer with it's got that funky, it's like an airline hangar.
Did we do that? Oh, that's the Triffid.
The Triffid. I always call it the Tivoli, the Triffid.
They used to do the Triffid with the Jets or someone, did they?
Dead Daisies. You weren't there for that? I thought.
No, I didn't. I did the Adelaide one for that, and
okay.
Didn't do the whole run.
Who did that? Mal Pezzi just subbed on YouTube. Thank you, Mal Pezzi. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Jason says, so why would the guitar player settle for solid state plugged into the console, assuming the console is solid state? You can feel that one.
I mean, he's got something that's impersonating a tube. So it's, and we say solid state. Solid state used to mean a transistor amp. I mean, I suppose anything could be solid state these days, but
yeah, I feel like we've already hit that, Jason. There's a bunch of reasons why they do it, but I'm convinced actually after.
I would say that to my critical ear, if I was to compare a Kemper to the real thing, the top end sounds slightly worse on a Kemper than the real thing.
In what way? Like when you say worse, it just doesn't have the fidelity, or it doesn't have the range, or?
I believe it's a fidelity thing. And now the answers to that as to why I think it does that are very technical, but
yeah.
You know how like a CD is 44.1K?
I do know this, yes.
All that really means is sound is just a vibration of air at a frequency. So the higher the frequency, the faster the wiggly line wiggles.
Okay.
But in essence,
we're going deep here, folks.
Yeah, no, I've gone too deep already. In essence, at 44.1, the highest frequency you hear on a CD is only being sampled twice a second. What the digital stuff picking up this analog sound is doing is only sampling it twice a second to see this complex wiggly air. So you don't get all that much detail on the top end. And that's sort of okay for mixing a record, because you do all the stuff in a high resolution, you crunch it down to that.
Yeah.
You're actually making and sampling guitar sound. I feel like you'd have to sample it really, really high fidelity to get those details. And I feel like it's missing some of that crisp detail on the top end. But that's to my critical ear, who
that's really critical too, because the top end, yeah. Like, what are you talking? You're talking like cymbal crashes that aren't quite
treble on the guitar.
Yeah, and treble, yeah.
Probably tube, because you were saying, Jason was saying here about, why they settle for solid state. Yeah, you can hear in a tube amp, the top end is really nice and crunchy, I guess, or whatever you would call it. Warm. People might say it's really warm top end.
Yeah.
Yeah, the minute you do go to something digital, you do sacrifice a bit of that.
Yeah, okay.
Temper rig, you might not.
Yep.
Get the top end exactly the same. But that being said, you're plugging that thing in, and whatever you've got there is going straight to the PA. If you've got a cab on stage and maybe got 2 or 3 mics on it, if that mic moves just a little bit.
That's true. You're changing it right there, yeah.
And I was talking to Living End sound guy the other day, and he was saying, he has times where he's out front at a festival or whatever, and he's 100 meters away, and he wants to say to the guitar tech, "Hey, can you get that mic on the amp and just change it, just rotate it 30 degrees, you know?"
Yeah.
It was lovely, and now it's just,
Someone knocked it.
And this is the thing, we might obsess about, in my mind, okay, a Kemper sounds slightly worse in the top end. Okay. In a perfectly captured tube amp, maybe that's better, but
yeah.
Of live sound where you're at a festival, you got a 20-minute changeover, you wheel this bunch of guitar cabs onto stage with some mics hanging off and bouncing around and stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to keep all of that right to just the perfect tone is here somewhere.
Yeah.
So that could be all gone in a moment.
Totally, I get it. Yeah. It's so finite that it's almost not. Well, as you said, your ears can hear it, but nobody else probably can, and it's such a finite thing that can easily be changed with someone. The guitarist puts his guitar up against the amp to come back for the encore and bumps that mic, and straight away everything's changed. But only you would hear that. That's the thing. Like the punters will be like, wouldn't have noticed
noise coming out the guitar rig, and I can hear it.
Yeah.
That's what they need to know.
Yeah. That's the other thing too. I noticed when Wolfmother started, he walked out with his guitar already on and just started playing it. So it wasn't like he went out and picked it up, and it wasn't very rock and roll, is what I was sort of. He hobbled out and someone put it over him. Yeah, that's what it was. Do you know what it's like when you see someone come out on stage and they take the guitar up from the thing and they strap it on and they start playing? That's a bit, I don't know, like traditional rock and roll, and it gets you excited because you know it's about to be played, and
There's
know.
often some sort of moment like that because the start of the show builds and people have anticipation. I remember first gig I ever went to, like first real gig, was Children of Bodom at the Unibar.
Wow.
And the
At the Adelaide Unibar.
Adelaide Unibar.
Yeah.
The backstage there was blocked off by a bunch of pinboards or something. And I was right at the front. And I was peeking through these pinboards and I could see the band. They had their wireless guitars on already. And they were walking down the corridor like it was some big rock star walk with their flying V guitars. And I just went, holy shit, they're in the building. And it was just, whoa. I can imagine that, someone's coming out on a Zimmer frame with a moon boot on to a show. It's like,
classic.
Oh, what are we in for? Because these guys, we are from Finland and we are strutting down your corridor. I imagine some guy coming out with a moon boot on. It's like, I'm going to perform rock music now. You're like, yeah, really?
Yeah. I see. G'day, Woz. How you doing, man? Woz, I hear that tubes for amps are now being produced in other countries due to issues with Russia. Oh.
It's funny you say that. I've got a Avalon vacuum tube unit here next to me that I used to do with Tracer, and it's still here in my home studio and doesn't get much love and much use. The tube in that's called a Sovtek, as in like Soviet.
It sounds Russian, yeah.
I think it actually has a hammer and stickle on it.
Oh, really?
I guess. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think people had Sovtek amps and stuff, and so yeah, the tube in that. I don't know. I'm not an expert on tubes, but I think it needs a bit of a service. It needs balancing this unit, and yeah, I now know. Am I going to be able to get a Sovtek tube for it? Probably not. So maybe I can't service that amp this year.
I got to apologize again, folks. I see Purple Rain there. I see the bit rate dropped right off again. Very, very strange. It's now back up. Rich says, is the digital approach as susceptible to bitrate errors as, say, data, like a live stream? A few messed up bits can render data as garbage. Just wondering if there's any similar problems for you guys. That's a good question.
I haven't had that particular problem because people are physically plugged into it.
I was going to say it's cable run. You're not sending it over airwaves or anything.
And if you are, you're sending it over different airwaves, and it's that problem with that unit.
Is there anything to be said about the digital audio converter? Like, there's got to be a DAC in the line somewhere, right?
Well, this is part of when I say that. Does it sound as good as the real thing?
Yeah.
The quality of your DAC is going to make.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. That's where you spend up big, right?
Well, this is where I used to spend up big with audio gear. I used to tour with a very expensive Universal Audio digital analog converter.
Right.
Because I found that, like even the console that we toured with Apocalyptica, the Avid Profile, the analog output on that, the converter digital analog on that, wasn't all that good, and just having a better one of those would make your whole mix sound like 25% better.
Interesting. Yeah. So you brought your own at that point?
I brought my own at that point.
Yeah.
I've sold it now, but it was I spent over like $2,000 on it.
Yeah.
Just for a converter.
Is that the sort of stuff that as a production manager at the Gov you have access to from their stash, or people just still bring their own, or?
People don't bring their own of that so much. They bring other things in. People bring their own consoles now.
Yeah.
Like people just tour a console.
Bring a console in. Yeah. Not to the Gov, surely.
Oh yeah.
What wheel a console in.
I mean, I wheeled one in for Devilskin 2 nights ago. Which was the one we had on the Apocalyptica tour. We wheeled one in. But quite literally, Mayday Parade the other day, and their 2 support acts, there was 3 different consoles that weren't the Gov console in the room. Yeah,
I did hear you when you said that before, and I was trying to figure out, first of all, where were they positioned? Yeah.
Well, imagine now that they're only as big as that rack I showed you. Well, that rack I showed you actually.
Of course, yeah. So it's not so it's all being compressed in size now. It's not like a full. Yeah, I see. All right.
Yeah. So you got something this big.
Yeah.
It's just under 30 kilos for flyweight.
Yep.
Come on.
Oh shit, dude. Oh man.
It looked like you just had a nap because you just sort of froze like.
I just lay back into the freeze. I don't know, man. Look, we
that amps and he's asleep now.
I just went to sleep. The internet gone to sleep. I apologize. Let's wrap this up. It's still Purple Rain right now. I'm assuming the audio is still good while it's Purple Rain, but I apologize for this. I mean, I tell you, I don't like this, and it frustrates me because the last thing.
We can talk off air about how we could supercharge your internet. I have some ways.
Well, let's do it when I come back from New Zealand because I'm hoping, and the government has rolled this out, that they are rolling out fiber for free to people in certain government areas. So I'm hoping that this area,
fiber premises,
fiber to the premises. Hopefully they do that here, but at this stage, John C. Purple Rain, But Lockie, man, thanks again, dude.
Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
I want to do something, man. I want to be able to talk music with you semi-regularly. Obviously, now that I'm going to NZ, that's going to change it all. But when I do get back after the winter, if it's like I want to talk to you about music and tech, and then sometimes also talk about Tracer because there's nothing new coming from that side, but we've got so many stories from the old days we could easily chew the fat on, and if you're down for it.
Sure, man. Anytime.
Yeah. Sweet.
Anytime I could fit it in.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Well, of course, whatever the scheduling is like for you, yeah. I didn't mention it to you, but I'm heading to New Zealand for the winter. I'm leaving on Tuesday. So that's gonna be fun. There'll be content, there'll be live streams. But yeah, that's all happening. I guess I got to get all shit together. I want to go surfing today as well. I want to get a few more surfs under my belt before I leave.
You still got surfing weather over there?
It's getting colder. Water temperature's a little getting cold. Not too bad, but yeah. Anyway, man, Lockie, thanks, dude. Thanks for your insight. Any parting words? I know you don't have any socials. You can't shill yourself anywhere because you don't have any of that shit, do you?
No, well, I don't put anything on it, so people can look at it, and I'll post a gig photo every 6 months, and that's about it.
So if anyone wants to book you for a job, they've got to just go to the white pages and find your name?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Old school. All right, folks.
Guy that knows me, and he'll.
That is old school. No, that's no digital. That's no digital direct interface for you there. It's got to get the white pages out. Does the white pages still exist? Can you still get that book, like the phone directory?
The white one. I remember seeing the yellow pages a few years ago, and it had gone from being like, an encyclopedia size to being like this little like leaflet almost.
Yeah. There used to be two volumes. There was
3 plumbers in there.
Yeah,
it was like A to F or something,
A to K and then L to Z or something. Yeah. Now they don't even exist. That's funny, man. Yeah. Internet, gotta love it. All right, Lockie. Thanks, man. Catch you next time, dude.
Catch you next time.
All right, see you, man. There you go, folks. Lachlan Sheehan from Tracer. What a great conversation. I mean, I love this. I love this talk. Like, I can talk tech like this. And what was good for me in that conversation was that I hadn't missed it. So this thing did creep up. Direct digital interface for guitar amps has crept in, but I didn't. It's not like it was there when we were touring with Tracer. That wasn't a thing. Oh, I should have asked if like maybe Apocalyptica and those guys had some, but it doesn't seem like it was. So I didn't miss anything. So therefore I'm clear. And when I saw Wolfmother, it was new to me, and it's still new to me, but at least I understand it now, and I won't be so baffled. I'd also had a few drinks because that was the headline act, and I'd had a few rums. So I was kind of like even more baffled that there were no amps on stage. And when I went backstage, I was looking underneath the thing. I was pulling the curtains aside, thinking they've hidden them somewhere. Yeah, probably looked like a fool. Hey, like, what's this guy doing? Anyway, folks, I'll see you all in New Zealand. I'm not going to stream tonight on DLive. I'm taking the night off, but I will do a DLive stream tomorrow on Sunday and probably Monday. I'm out on Tuesday, so maybe. I guess I shouldn't do Monday. I should pack everything down. I got to take all this shit with me as well, but we'll see. There won't be one today on DLive though, but there will be one tomorrow. So I guess that's what I'm saying. Thanks for all you Yahoos being here in the conversation in the chat. I know I was like sort of half ignoring because I'm chatting with Lockie, but it was nice for you Yahoos to be here to hear the conversation. I'll see you all on the flip side. I need more water. Get out of here. Go on. Get out of here. Get that out of there. You get out of there.